everything going on at the moment, a lot of us have got smaller groups to play with. So we're having a look at some of the games you've got on your shelf that you usually play with 4, maybe even 5 players, that are exceptionally good still at 2 players. Last week we had a look at Hadara. This week we're having a look at Paladins of the West Kingdom. Now, all of the Shem Phillips games have an unusual take on worker placement. We love the North Sea trilogy, and out of the 2 West Kingdoms games that have been produced so far, this is our favourite. So let's have a look at it. Okay, there's a lot of stuff here, but come back. It's not as scary as it looks. If you've played any of the other Shem Phillips games, there'll be a lot of stuff you recognise. And even if you haven't, a lot of the symbols are repeated in various places on the boards, and you'll get used to them after a play or 2. They make sense, which makes it easier than you'd think. At the start of each round, you'll have 6 workers to use. You'll get those through 2 different means. The first of which is your personal Paladin deck of cards. Every player has a deck of cards that is identical. You'll start by taking the top 3 cards off your deck. You'll choose one of these cards that you want to play this turn. One of these cards will go face down on top of your deck, and the other will go on the bottom of your deck. Reveal your card, and you'll get the bonus as shown at the top of these 2 workers. So in this case, I will take 2 green workers. I'll also get the bonus on the side here. This is a temporary boost to my stats. So in this case, I'd have +2 on the faith track and +2 on the influence track. This is a temporary bonus that will only last for this round. Then I also have the bonus shown at the bottom. So we'll keep this card here to remind us of the boost on these tracks and the bonus. These 2 workers. Then the tavern cards are the way to get more workers for the round. At the start of each round, a number of cards is drawn equivalent to the number of players +1. So in this case, we're playing 2 players, so we have 3 cards. The start player will choose which one of these they want and get the workers shown on the card. So in this case, 2 blue and another 2 green. And these will go into my pool, giving me a total of 6 workers that I will have available for the turn. Now you have your 6 workers at the start of the round, what are you going to do with them? At heart, Paladins is a worker placement game. So let's have a look at the player board and see what you can do with your workers. If a space is clear here, you can place any colour worker on this spot. And this is where the white workers are quite useful. So if I were to place 2 workers here, I can pay 4 gold to develop, which means I take one of these off and I place it on any of these little dotted spaces on the board. If I was to put it there, this reduces the cost of my commission action. Here, reduce the cost of my absolve, and so on. However, the extra bonus here is uncovering this gives me an extra white worker to put in my pool to use for the rest of the turn. Hunting. Hunting gives you provisions. You'll need provisions for various things over the course of the game. I can either choose to put 1 worker of any colour here and gain 1, or if I fill both spaces, it will get me 3 provisions. Trade works in a similar way, but for gold. So 1 worker here will get me 1, and a blue worker here will get me a total of 3 coins. Recruit with the green card symbols here. There are various townsfolk laid out that are available for you to take through the course of the game. They've got a couple of different purposes. So if you were to put one worker down here on the recruit, you could take a townsfolk, but you'd get to do this cross action, which, as you can see on the townsfolk cards, is at the top. So I could take one of these cards, pay the gold shown on the bottom, and take just this top ability where the green cross is. However, if I wanted to recruit a townsfolk into my town, I could put two workers here. So if I were to take this worker, I'd get the immediate action shown here and the permanent action shown at the bottom of the card. So I'd take this townsfolk and just pop it by the side of my board. The prey action here, you must use a black worker for this. You pay 2 coins and you get to remove the workers off any space. That's what this little symbol here means, and this will come up several times over the course of the game. So if I wanted to, I could put a black worker, pay the 2 coins, remove these workers. Now these workers don't go back to you, they go back to the general supply, but it does free a space up so that you can use it again in the same turn. The conspire action here, you can place any worker and it will give you a purple worker. Purple workers are a bit special. They're essentially wildcards and can be used to represent any colour. However, whenever you take a purple worker, you must take a suspicion card. Suspicion cards sometimes have money on, sometimes they don't. You take that, place it on the space shown on your player board or by the side, and you take the appropriate number of coins from this space, which we'll come back to in a while. Now, the meat of the game is this side of the board. So, let's start with the absolve action where we developed earlier. Here, you'd only need 2 workers. An important thing to note with these actions is the colours at the top here are really helpful clues. To absolve, you need to have blue on your chart, and it will give you black. So in this case, you need influence and you'll gain faith. So to place your first jar, you need 0 blue, which we're obviously at right now. You must also pay 1 coin. You then remove the jar from here, and as shown, your faith marker will go up 1. You can then choose any of these actions to place the jar on and get the bonus. Again, we'll come back to a lot of what these mean. However, let's go here. Take 1 white worker, like we did earlier with the develop action. You also get to get rid of a suspicion card, these purple cards. So we get rid of that, which is a good thing. Commissioning lets you place monks on the board. To commission, you need to have faith and you'll gain influence. So, if you were to place 3 workers here, you take the first monk on the board. You automatically get 1 point in influence. You then get to place your monk on the main board here. You can place the monk as high as your black track currently stands. So we have 1 on the track and 1 bonus from the Paladin card for the turn. So this can be placed anywhere up to 2 on the main player board. So this section is marked 0, this section is marked 2. These spaces are only available in 3 or 4 player games, and we're playing 2 player. So it means it can go in these spots or these. Now, these are pretty obvious. This just gives you more coins, always a good thing. This space will give you 1 green worker. The purple with the cross, get rid of a suspicion card. So the only icon we don't know here is this one. This allows you to take a townsfolk at no cost. But at the moment, let's take an extra worker. So we'll place our monk on the board and take an additional worker for the round. So, moving on, the fortify action. To fortify, you need influence and you'll gain strength. You place 3 workers on the space here and take one of these wall cards. Your blue needs to be the number shown on these spaces on the top of your board. At the moment it's 0, however you need to pay a provision. So we'd place this here, our strength would go up by 1 and we'd have the opportunity to get rid of a suspicion card or to take 2 coins. So already you can see how things work together. To garrison, you need to have points in strength and it will give you points in faith. Again, you place the 3 workers and you take a garrison off. It will cost you 1 provision. These work in a similar way to the monks on the commission action, but you need strength. So our strength for the round is the 1 on the track and the 3 on the card. So 4 total. So if we look on the main board here, 1 and 3, again, we can place on either of these 2 spaces. So let's go here and take the coins. So then moving down to the bottom 2 actions. Like the commission and garrison, these 2 are kind of related and kind of different. They both relate to the outsider cards here. So to attack them, you're going to be looking at your strength rating. So you place your workers here and you can attack up to what your strength level is. Here it's 4 again. So I could attack this guy or this guy. So if I was to attack the warrior here, my influence would go up 1, I'd get 1 black worker and he goes face down in front of me. Sometimes these can be worth end game points. To convert outsiders, you're looking at your faith total. So here it's 2. So we could convert this outsider and it would get us instantly 1 point in strength. At the end of the game, it would get us 1 point for every 2 townsfolk. These, the converted outsiders, go along the bottom of the board. This game is a bit of a table hog, so it's a case of balancing things some of the time. You'll continue placing workers either until you run out or you pass. You can pass when you have 2 workers left, and you can then carry those workers into the next round. So, at the beginning of each round, a card is turned over from this side of the board. So, let's have a look at the first one. These red cards are King's Orders that will grant you end of game bonuses if you complete them. So 4, 6 and 8 points. This indicates you need to have attacked 5 of the Outlanders. In round 2 this will be revealed. If you've absolved 5, that is moved 5 of your jugs from here over, you'll get 6 points. And on the 3rd round this would be revealed, and if you'd garrisoned 5 times at the end of the game you get an 8-point bonus. These are very handy for your first game or 2 as they give you a direction to go in which will give you an understanding of the game, which will then help you to develop your own strategies in other plays. So in the 1st round this is revealed, the 2nd round that's revealed, the 3rd round we have 2 cards that are revealed. These green cards become worker placement spots that anyone can place on and get the bonus. So here you can place any colour worker and you'll get 2 provisions and 1 coin from the tax pool. The tax pool is something we haven't spoken about yet, so let's go over and have a look at that here on this board. The number of coins in the tax pool depends on the number of players in the game. So again, we're playing 2-player, we started with 5. Now, when all of these coins have gone, either through suspicion cards or worker placement spots or townsfolk, an inquisition happens, which is what this symbol means. The player who has the most suspicion cards will gain a debt card, which, if you've played any of the Shem Phillips games, you'll be used to by now. These are the debt cards, and they represent -3 victory points at the end of the game. However, if you can pay them off before the game ends, they become worth 1 point. There are also other mechanisms and other cards in the game that can potentially make these quite useful, so don't dismiss debts as a completely bad thing. So let's just have a quick look at some of the other symbols we haven't spoken about that are repeated everywhere on these boards. So although it seems overwhelming, you get used to them pretty quickly. So we've spoken about the townsfolk, the coins, workers. These are to get rid of suspicion cards, which is helpful for when the inquisition happens. This symbol here is to remove the workers. It's the same as the pray action on your player board, but it's no cost involved. This card would be to pay off a debt. There are plenty of ways to pay off your debts. There are also cards that remove your debts, but don't forget, if you pay off these debts, they're worth 1 point at the end of the game, so you don't always want to just discard them. So obviously these spaces give you workers of the appropriate colours, and as you get higher, you've got the potential to gain 2 workers. I think we've actually gone through everything that's shown on here. The game is played over 7 rounds, which you keep track of easily with the cards on this board. At the end of a round, all workers that have been placed on your board are removed and placed back in the general pool. If there is a townsfolk or an outsider in the starting position, they're removed. Everything is pushed down and refilled. So that's the townsfolk, and here the outsiders. We don't have anyone in this first position, so they just move down and get restocked. Going into the new round, tavern cards are again revealed, and players again take the top 3 paladin cards, choose one to play, one to go on the top of the deck and one to go on the bottom. As well as the bonuses that they give you on the track here, it's very important to remember these bonuses at the bottom, as every bonus will make an action on your board either more powerful or cheaper, or will benefit you in some way. So, for example here, the absolving action will cost you no silver if this is your paladin in play for the turn. Garrisoning costs no provisions, recruiting costs no silver. However, in some cases, like here, attacking will earn you 2 silver. So, when choosing your paladin for the round, it's very important to make sure you do that action at least once to get the benefit they give you. Almost every action you'll do over the course of the game will push up your 3 tracks here: your faith, your strength and your influence. These are important because they allow you to perform other actions. So you need to do one action to get these up to help you do another action. So in the case of absolving, if you want to get all of these out, your influence needs to be at 9. To get your monks and your garrisons on the board, the higher your tracks are in your strength and your faith means you can get higher up on this board here, and the bonuses do get better as you get higher. Of course, as well, then the higher you are on your blue and red track means you can attack or convert more of the townsfolk, which gets you a better choice before other people. Everything is interconnected on this game. This is a very handy reminder here, as I said earlier. So to convert workers, you need faith and you'll get points in strength. So it might be you're struggling to get this up, so you need faith. So what actions give you faith? So absolving gives you faith or garrisoning gives you faith. So you need strength to get the faith track up for garrisoning, or influence to get the faith track up from absolving. Everything is connected. You can't really go wrong with this game because everything will get you points. However, it's very easy to do a little bit of everything and not get those points. At the end of the game, you will get points for any of the king's orders you've fulfilled. So there's a chance at 18 points here if you've managed to fulfill all 3 of the orders. You'll get points for where each of your markers are up the track here. So let's take this as an example. Let's get some easy numbers so I don't have to struggle with the math. In this case, you'd get 11, 9 and 6 points. So you'd get 26 points for having your markers on those positions. You also get points as shown here, depending on how many times you've developed. You'll also get points if you get these last monks out or the last garrisons out. You'll also get points for getting the last 3 vases out for absolving that high, or for building your wall this far. So as I said, everything gives you points. Then you'll also get endgame points for any of these outsiders that you've converted. Here you'd get 1 point plus 1 point for any of the king's orders you'd managed to fulfill, which has got this little red seal here, which is shown on the king's order cards. So get points or negative points for any debts you have. Paid off debts are worth 1 point, whereas debts you haven't managed to flip over will be -3 points. There's also a small point bonus for any provisions or coins left at the end of the game. It's not that many, so don't worry too much about that. We love the Shem Phillips games. We love the fact they always have an original twist on the worker placement. Architects was a firm favourite. Then Paladins came out. Now, while we like Architects, it really shines at 3 or 4 players, where Paladins works well at 2, 3 or 4 players. It also has a solo mode, but I'm not a solo gamer, so I can't comment on that, I'm afraid. I'm sure other people have done it though. There's a lot to think about in this game. The icons make sense though, which is really nice, and once you've played it once or twice, you'll get the hang of what you're doing. As I said earlier, I'd recommend for your first couple of games to really concentrate on the king's orders, and that will help you with the mechanisms and working out a balance of things to do. It can be easy to do a little bit of everything and not score any points, so try and concentrate on a couple of things. You'll pick it up in no time. If you like this video, please check out some of the other stuff I've got. Click like, subscribe on YouTube, come and say hi to me on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. Thanks for watching. Bye!